All righty.
Greetings, class. Welcome to week 8. How's everybody doing? We just came from a little shop talk. Tons of people, mustard converts, never buying it again. Pate liver converts, cracker converts. Excellent. Super happy that you guys enjoyed this week. You know, when we start looking at products, right? What sets you apart from different places, but it's also something that's good to evaluate and think, where is the value, right? Sometimes, you know, if we think, okay, what type of a restaurant would it make sense to serve, you know, a homemade mustard on?
Yep.
Right? Are we going to do that at just a regular old turn and burn, really quick hamburger and hot dog place?
If you made your own
want
hot
just
dog.
that standard French's mustard? Are we doing upscale hot dogs made out of duck and different sausages? Maybe now we're talking about, okay, yeah, that's when that value would come in there. Or we have a beautiful charcuterie board and it sells, and the mustard is a standout, and it makes sense to have that.
Exactly.
Crackers? When does it make sense to make it in-house? When does it not? Right?
Yep.
Do you offer a bread basket with house-made crackers in it that have been, you know, with sea salt and rosemary or black pepper? Cool. But again, depending upon the establishment, not all of these things are going to make sense to make in-house all the time.
And one thing with because I had some people that took a little bit of their dough, made crackers, sprinkled some other stuff on. Somebody did everything bagel seasoning. Chef just said rosemary. When you place that when you sprinkle it on your cracker after you brush on your olive oil, make sure you kind of press it in to make sure that it sticks. That was just a good bit of advice that a couple of people were like, yeah, I put it in there and it just fell off. When I lifted up the cracker, it fell off. So just give it a little press down and then bake.
Or the other one is you could incorporate it into the dough itself if you want it for a bit more pungent. This would be like obviously the next batch, because we wanted you to adhere to the recipe. But for the next go ahead, you know, if you know that that's what you want, you know, you can really do that. They actually have some, they even have cool, you know, you think about that everything bagel, that spice that everybody loves, right?
I get it from
Trader Joe's. Your
yep.
favorite spot. Yeah, no, that stuff is incredible. But you could make your own homemade crackers with those everything that everything bagel spice.
Yep.
Incredible.
All
right, class, did anybody have any questions regarding week 7? Otherwise, we're gonna have it a week 8.
Question was, with that pate, that's what we supposed to make our charcuterie board with?
Yeah, that would be a perfect accompaniment to a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
I don't eat chicken liver. That's why I took
both of them. And see, here's the thing. I had, you know, like I said, you have those over exuberant people. Made the mushroom pate, the chicken liver pate, and the rillette. And if you look, okay, so you're looking at basically a rectangular charcuterie board. Over here, you've got the pate. Down on the other side, you have the mushroom pate, and in the middle, you got the chicken rillette.
Okay,
or the pork rillette.
I did the beef.
You just arrange your crackers any way you want to.
Okay.
And then, of course, the other things. Last week, Chef Catherine gave a big list of things you can put on a charcuterie board. You can do cheeses. You can do dried fruit, nuts. I mean, there's just so much. And like I said, we can rehash some of that a little bit later.
So give me a question with my tongue is twisting to reach the one that starts with an R. Come on, help me.
Okay.
The rillette?
Yes, thank you. So we can do that with the beef or the chicken.
I mean, essentially potted meat, or which is what you're making. It can be made with salmon. It can be made with beef. It can be made with duck. Chicken. Duck is the most, duck rillettes are pretty much one of the most common. Salmon are fairly common as well. and then chicken, beef, but it really, whenever we're talking about slow and low,
Okay.
it's about transforming this protein into a spreadable paste, right? And
Okay,
making
but
sure that you're adding all of those cooking liquids and fat back in to get it to that spreadable
hey,
consistency.
my question is, you said shredded. You said when I shredded it, but how you get it into the paste? You put it in the blender or something?
No, it just,
No,
you
no, no,
just,
no. Rie should be shredded.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
shredded. If
Okay.
you want to get it into a paste, then yeah, that we were just talking about that earlier. Go ahead and add it to the food processor. And as Chef Catherine said last week, take some bacon fat, because you're gonna want that fat in there. Add a little bacon fat and just let it go, puree. And maybe even some of the juices from the pork.
Okay.
So, but it doesn't have to be. And I think I like the texture differences between the three different products. So the mushroom is going to give you a different texture. The Rie is going to give you a different texture. And then that pate is so smooth, it's going to give you a different texture. And the one good thing about it is no matter who's going to complain, I don't eat pork, I don't like liver. Okay, so you got mushroom. Oh, I don't like mushroom. Well, you got chicken liver, or you got, so there's something there that somebody's going to eat.
So what do you replace the chicken liver with if you don't do chicken liver?
That's the one we did, the mushroom.
Okay, so it's just really no substitute for the replacement of the meat. It's just you go to the vegetable.
Oh yeah, no, like Chef Catherine said, you can use any protein.
Okay.
I've seen people use regular liver and make
yeah,
pate.
beef liver pate.
Yep.
I made the beef pot roast, but I kind of ate it all up. It was so good. So, so I got to redo it. Yeah. All right.
Roger, what you got?
I was gonna say my lesson learned was because I did the salmon and it came out great. I mean, it killed it. But like I think Chef Catherine said it before we finished class, I had to add more oil to it because it doesn't produce that much oil. So I had to add more oil to it, and it came out better because I mean it was great, but I had to constantly watch it. I had to constantly watch it so I could, because it's nothing there. That little oil on salmon is nothing. So I had to just continually do it. I was like, this is not going to have any oil on it. And the cooking time, you have to, like, say, you have to be and watch it. The cooking time on salmon is not no hour or 2 hours. When you put that to heat, I was like, okay. I was like, I got to remember what she said. But it came out great. So I thank you, Chef Catherine, for saying something about the oil, because it popped in my head while I was cooking. I was like, wait a minute, it's not going to be enough. 2 tablespoons is not enough.
Awesome. Yeah, no, and that's what it's all about. That's why I'm so glad you all are here in the live session right now and those on the archive. It's so important to watch this, otherwise there'd be no point for us to be here. This is where we give you all the tips and the tricks and the inside and like, okay, watch out for this because this might happen, and there it is, right? So I think the other cool thing to think about is, using and looking at this as a base, right? So you've got a whole grain mustard, right? That maybe somebody did soaked with just the water. Maybe somebody did a beer, okay? So you start to think, okay, well, I really like this, but I love honey mustard. So can I add a little honey to that? Of course you can. Oh, you know what? I love horseradish mustard. I'm gonna actually add some grated horseradish, to the next one. I'm drinking some coconut water and coffee and it's going a little down. And then you start thinking about the pate, following back what Chef Eric was saying, you've got all these 3 different options, right? Well, guess what? You could also have some fun. You could change the flavor profile on that mushroom pate. Maybe you want to add some richer, warm spices to that. Maybe you want to, add walnuts in there to add some protein or add a little bit different texture. Again, making various types of pates. You start to see the possibilities, or like Roger did, made the salmon rillettes. Okay, like you're not stuck in just one box with these recipes. This is where it's building, right? You take this and then you say, okay, here's this. How can I make it more to my liking? Or what can I do to make this better? Or how can I make this for the people that I want to sell my product to?
Exactly. And that's what being a chef is about. That's why I say when people say, oh, such and such stole my recipe. No, I improved on your recipe because your recipe was good for you. What's good for you is not always good for me. Like when I make anything with tomatoes, I use Roma tomatoes, whatever. But every time I make something different with tomatoes, I change it up. So I might make a sauce with Roma tomatoes, but then I'm taking the little cherry tomatoes or the little fancy tomatoes that you see, some people see in the store and they look at them like, what am I supposed to do with these? And those I'll take, give them a quick pan, quick saute in a pan, add it to the sauce. Because I want some texture. I want a little bit more of a, tomatoey texture to go along with you know what I mean? A solid tomato texture to go along with my sauce. Because my sauce is a little smoother because I blended it and I did all the stuff you do to a sauce to, kind of make, I don't know. My nephew used to be one of those kids that had an aversion to anything chunky. So I started, it was a habit. I would go ahead and get my little stick out and puree up my tomatoes, which is not how I eat them. So, but just making little changes like Chef Catherine said.
And speaking of, what's that, Chef?
I was going to say this week is going to be a good way to do that.
Exactly, that's right on track. Talk about thinking about how to change dishes, right? What is one of the greatest things that dictate what we eat? What are we buying?
The
What
season.
determines that outside of price?
Samara, what'd you say?
The season.
There you
Yes,
go.
seasons, right? This is where we start to think, okay, maybe I had a seasonal charcuterie board, right? I'm going to use certain fruits, certain dried fruits or certain fresh fruits on there. Maybe I'm going to have fresh cheeses on there. Maybe I have seasonal sorbet or seasonal ice cream. What's one of those things that you walk in almost all the time at lunch? Soup of the day, right? What's the soup of the day? Oh, well, it's what's in season, right? So let's first talk a little bit about, I think we talked about this, but seasonality has come a long way. We go into grocery stores now and everything is available, right? We can get tomatoes in the winter. We can get
They're
frozen
great.
products, right? Bananas pretty much are year round on the shelves. What are some items that we don't see on the shelves year round? Can anybody think about that? What do you not see year round that you know that, I wonder why?
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins, okay. Awesome. Watermelon, what else?
Cherries,
Cherries, yes. What else?
green peanuts,
What's that?
green peanuts.
Green peanuts, yep,
Yep.
true,
Early August.
exactly.
Greens.
Blackberries, what else? I love this class. You guys are on it right now.
Squash,
What's that? What's that?
squash,
Squash. Well, what type of squash? Like acorn squash?
yes,
Acorn squash. Yep. What else? Green melon. What else, class? You guys are doing awesome.
Greens, collard
Honeydew.
greens, mustards. They have their seasons.
Certain greens have their season. Yes. Okay.
Some
So
shops won't sell tomatoes or won't serve tomatoes during the winter.
excellent, Tom. You're right. And why might somebody say, you know what? I'm not putting tomatoes on my menu at winter because why?
I don't know.
they're
Okay.
out of season.
Because they don't have
They're
it.
out of season. And what do we know? What does that change when a tomato, for example, is out of season in the winter compared to the summer? What does that do? What does that taste like?
It
Talk
changes
to me
the
about-
taste.
Rainy.
It's, it's grainy. It's not developed. It's not where it should be. It has a false ripeness to it.
Exactly. These are all great, right? The texture, the taste, the flavor, it's not as sweet. They're mealy, the color, right? The aroma, the flavor, none of it hits the mark.
Exactly.
So as Tom was saying, and I'll call you in just a second, Tom, continue. That is why somebody might say, you know what? The only way I'm gonna have tomatoes on my recipe, on my menu, is if I have dehydrated tomatoes, or if I'm using some canned tomatoes that were harvested during the summer, processed, stored, and I turn that into a sauce. But fresh tomatoes, I'm not gonna have it because they don't meet the quality and the flavor that I expect and want at my restaurant. Tom, yeah, what's up?
You brought up an interesting question I have. Next door to me, there's a vertical farm where they're doing hydroponics.
Awesome.
Is it year round or is it still seasonal?
Hydroponics are, I mean, it depends if it's an indoor hydroponic. I'll bring up some visuals of this so you all can understand what aquaponic, hydroponic means, okay, when it's growing. Indoor growing is hydroponic or aquaponics. You can technically have a tomato growing year round, but we humans are modifying that seasonality. Just like if we ship in tomatoes from another area, we're using technology to bring that. If a tomato were just to grow the seeds naturally, we weren't intervening, right? That tomato is going to just be doing its own life cycle at the correct times.
And you're not getting the terroir.
Correct. You lose a lot. Now, so let me pull up a visual. The terroir, for anybody who doesn't know, this term refers to the land, okay? It's a term used for wines predominantly, but it's also can be applied to your food, okay? And that's it. Terroir essentially is not just the land, right? The soil, but the angle of the sun. Are you near, are you a mountain? Are you southwest facing? Are you getting seawater that's, blowing on you, right? On your products,
Or
on the sand. That's all going to change the flavor.
Or near a
that?
volcano.
Yep.
Volcanoes are good for growing.
I tell you, it's weird. My first foray with hydroponics, I was stationed in Hawaii. Wintertime, we have a new commander comes in. I did his change of command, which is basically just a big old spread of food for everybody to feast while he takes over command. He tells me everything he wants, and I'm like, okay, yep, great, no problem. I can go to Costco, get this, get it. He's like, okay. He said, and I need you to call. He gives me a card. He said, I need you to call this place, and I'm like, okay. And I'm looking, I'm like, all right, okay. I said, okay, so what am I getting here? He said, they're gonna ship you peaches. I'm like, you do know it's wintertime, right? Peaches ain't, they're not in season, sir. His wife was from Georgia peach, that kind of thing. Apparently it's their little calling card. So I called this place and they shipped 2 crates of peaches. And like these peaches were like, when I bit into one, I was like, holy crap. Like they, I had the juice was running just like, they were summertime peaches. I was like, holy crap.
They grew these hydroponic. So they grew a huge peach tree.
They grow everything. Oh, and the peach was, it was huge.
Incredible. Class, I don't know if you saw this, but this is what we are talking about, hydroponics, okay? You're essentially growing, right? The hydro, right? Water. You're growing instead of using soil, right? Yep. Dirt. You are adding nutrients. You essentially take nutrients and you put it into the water. So it's actually really, you can control a lot. There are a ton of benefits to hydroponic systems, especially when we look in food sustainability, moving forward with our growing population. You can grow something like that. Look at this. These are all tubes that are just going through. That's tons of lettuce. You can grow this in a warehouse. This is in a greenhouse. Excuse me. And you can grow this in urban areas and reduce carbon footprint. I mean, there's tons of benefits to it. Again, here's some hanging strawberries. It's easier with pest control, a lot of benefits to it. But you are growing this in just nutrient rich water. And that's how that system goes, right? And it just circulates. Another addition to this is when you add fish into this. So I'm going to show you what this is. And essentially the fish are swimming around in the water below, and their feces, right, have a ton of nitrogen. Nitrogen is really good. Plants need a lot of nitrogen, right, to grow. So it becomes a different, totally, it's an aquaculture system, okay? Let me give you a visual of this. Roger, yeah, I see your hand is up.
And it's basically fertilizing.
Yes.
That's what the fish are doing.
That's basically fertilizing. What I was gonna say, Chef, was my mom, I grew up doing that. My mom has had a nursery for like almost 40 years. So we did a little bit with the fruit trees. Like if they're wanting fruit trees at a certain time of year, she would do that in certain greenhouses. Like you learn how to do that with certain plants. Certain plants you could do that too, and they'll look like you can do it with roses. You can, as long as you have the right temperature. Like we have heaters there, and certain type, you have to have the right temperature, the right soil, like you said, the water temperature. It takes so much to do that. But I was going to also say, if we're saying fruits and vegetables, they do the same thing with, like, me growing up, we did the same thing with like chickens. Like if it was little, we call them biddies. If they weren't hatching, we put the light on them. So you're taking, and you're not doing natural, and they hatch, and you're breeding, growing them a certain way. So I grew up doing that. So it's crazy we're talking about it now, but I grew up doing the same thing.
And you were doing it for free, and these guys are making, because I'm telling you, when I got the receipt for them peaches, I didn't have to pay for them. They had an account, but what I paid for those, ridiculous. We're talking almost $400 for two. Y'all seen the little bushel baskets, right? The little wicker basket for two of those. It was enough peaches to fill those. I was like, ain't no way in the world. But
That's crazy.
You gotta pay if you want it out of season, I guess.
True. So here's another version, a slight variation of the hydroponics, which is aquaponics, okay? And so we're really looking at aquaculture and using that nitrogen that the fish release in their feces to add to the soil. But as Roger was saying, now you're incorporating other living creatures. So it takes longer to start up than just simple hydroponics. You have to really manage the temperature of the water, but it's a harmonious thing. And what's really cool, this actually dates back to forever ago. There's a region that's actually getting restored. This is called Xochimilco. I'll find out the exact name, but basically, different cultures have always been using this. There's the Hanging Gardens of Babylon in Mexico. They used water and grew just like this, aquaponics, right? Because they realized, oh, wow, I can do this. This land isn't suitable for, right? You also start thinking, okay, things come out of necessity. If the water, if you're in a swampy area, right? Well, that's not good for growing. So you have to figure out how to make that grow alternatively. Yep. The world of food, ladies and gents, is, Xochimilco, Shamara, is incredible, right? You start thinking about how do we feed the growing world population? How do we take seasonality into our menus? Do we care about seasonality? Do our guests care about seasonality?
Yep.
Do we have, a changing menu? When we don't have a changing menu, you just have a stagnant menu. Well, how can you, start to say, well, let me throw in a few seasonal items. And this is where we're going to head into right now. This week, we are going to make seasonal bread and seasonal quick bread and a seasonal soup. So we're in winter. So I'm going to I'll pull up this guide, and then Chef, you want to do the recipes because perfect.
Yep.
For 30. I'm going to pull up this seasonal food guide, which is super cool. Gives you a bit more in depth. There's two different types of food guides. This one is a great one. Who wants to go? Who wants to pick a state?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah,
I just said
I
the first
almost
thing that
said,
popped in my
Norman,
head.
sorry, we don't do Jersey, but,
I just said the first state that came in my head. I don't know why. I was thinking that.
all right, so New Jersey, and we are in late February.
He's got a good memory of somebody in Jersey. That's all I'm saying.
So
I
what's
watch a
in
lot of TV.
season?
Jersey Shore. There we go. He was thinking about.
Class. Look at this. This is what's in season in New Jersey in late
Wow.
February. Horseradish, kale, and sprouts.
Yeah. So you're making kale soup with a
Right?
little bit of horseradish in there. There you go.
It's healthy.
And
it's healthy.
garnish of sprouts, okay? Now let's go for something else. Let's think about another warmer place. Let's say Arizona, right? What's going on seasonal wise? Oh, wow, looky here. We've got arugula, we've got asparagus, beets, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, celery, celery root, chard, chicory, cilantro, citrus, clementines. We're just at the C's, okay?
Ooh. People in New Jersey gonna be a little bit pissed off.
Oh, yeah. This shows you how, okay, first of all, where you're located is going to change your seasonality, what's available, what's growing in season, weather, right? What grows there, what doesn't. And start thinking about things like this, right? Okay,
Arizona, you can make anything you want to.
pretty much. Okay, so this is a great reference point. It's on the class page. Check it out, have some fun. Use this as a guide for yourself. You know, all right, what comes up in June you know, June's an interesting one. Let's do June in the Midwest. Let's see what's in June in Indiana. It's just spring is popping up there, right? Kind of. It's like early summer, but it's really basically spring. Arugula, asparagus, some beans, beets, peas, you know, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower. It's just starting to get going. Garlic scapes, one of my favorite indicators of the seasons changing. But remember, class, this is seasonality indicates changing of season, right? There's a reason why certain things grow when they do, why we eat them when we do, but that's a bigger picture. But we just really want to make sure that you are focusing on seasonality for this week. And these are two super simple recipes Chef Eric and I were talking about earlier. If you, for some reason, got behind in week 7 or another week, this is the week to take advantage of the extra time, because lickety split, these 2 assignments are gonna be done and scarfed down in no time.
Oh yeah. Oh, and please, do me a favor. When you bake, make sure the minute you pull out your quick bread, take a picture of it, because it will, I guarantee you, I had 4 students hit me up. Chef, I came home, I let it set, I came home.
And it was gone.
Family had all that was left, and literally the one he sent me a picture, all they left was him, one little end piece, which as a chef, I definitely would have went off. I'm like, wait a minute, I made it and I can't even get I can't get a nice middle piece. 2 of them totally demolished it, and then one he got like a little, maybe about 3 slices left. So take a picture of it when you pull it out the oven.
Good tips.
That way, at least if you don't get the slice, at least I know that you did make it, and you don't get the little, the little heel. Sean said, my family kills my bread. Yeah, that's why I say, when you take it out the oven, just go ahead and get your phone, click, take a picture, because I don't want y'all to have to remake. Best part is not the hill, Zamora. You get a nice piece on the middle and then give me some ice cream. I'll beat your heel every day. Now, that's with quick bread. Maybe, if you get a nice Italian loaf of bread, yeah, then the heel is, oof, that's the chewy. You said, can I use potatoes for my seasonal soup? If it's in season, check out the seasonal guide, see what's in season, and it'll tell you which potatoes. But right now, I'm getting ready to go over the recipes real quick. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Were you good, Chef Catherine?
Yeah, Chef, it's all you. Hit the
Cool.
recipes. Let's show this class.
Seasonal quick
up?
bread. Now, first thing most people are going to do, they're going to look at it and they're going to panic. Oh my goodness, I got to get pastry flour. No, you don't. You can use regular as purchased flour, which is just regular flour. Sugar, baking powder, salt, eggs, milk, vanilla extract, melted butter or shortening. I would use butter. Shortening you can use if you don't have butter and you're low on funds, that's fine. Seasonal fruit. Now, winter. First thing we recommend is apples. They're in season in the winter. We're not even in spring, we're not in summer, we're not in fall. So you can also, like I said, look at the guide if you don't want to just do apples, see what else is in season. But you're gonna preheat your oven to 400, sift together the dry ingredients, mix together the wet ingredients. These are two separate pictures, I can tell you right now. So a picture of your dry ingredients, picture of your wet ingredients. Go ahead and add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients, mix until just combined. This is not a recipe where you want to go ahead and pull out a mixer. Because if you, 9 times out of 10, if you use a mixer, you're going to overmix it. Just stir it, mix it by hand until incorporated or until just combined. Gently fold in your seasonal fruit. Go ahead and grease your loaf pan. Add the batter, bake for 45 minutes to an hour. Now, what do we always say whenever we cook something? What do we always, every week, what does Chef Catherine and I always say?
Check it before it's done.
Thank you.
Halfway.
Check it before the 45 minutes. Now, if you have a light on your oven, which some people don't even know they have one. I have a friend, I was like, well, did you, you can look inside the oven. I can't see in there. You have a light on it. I don't have a light on mine. I'm like, yeah, you do. You probably got a switch. Didn't even know they had a switch. Lived in the house 5 years. Didn't even know. It's probably a switch on your oven. Look through. You don't want to keep opening the door because it'll make your cake sink or it'll make your bread sink. But yes, I check it around the 40 minute mark. Or until the toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Allow it to cool slightly, remove it from the loaf pan, and allow it to fully cool on a rack. What did I say earlier though? When the toothpick goes in, it comes out clean, you take it out, take the picture before somebody comes and eats it all. So then you wanna, once it cools, remove it from the loaf pan, allow it to cool fully. Once completely cooled, wrap it up in plastic wrap. Or you can wrap it, it's best eaten within first couple of days, but if you're not going to eat it, you can go ahead and wrap it in plastic wrap and freeze it for up to 1 month. But trust me, I don't think it's going to make it 3 days in most people's houses. Then we're going to move on to the seasonal soup. Same thing, seasonal vegetable. So with winter, you're going to have butternut squash. Depending on where you live, you might have sweet potatoes. You might have different things. So use the guide, see what's in your area seasonal. But just because it's in your grocery store, you still have to, because I'm going to check. I'm letting you know. I'm going to look and see where you're from, and I'm going to check it. If it's not seasonal, but you used it, points are coming off. So check and see what's in season. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you decide to do sweet potato, or you decide to do butternut squash, but you have sweet potatoes. Even though sweet potatoes aren't in season, but you have the butternut squash and you want to mix them together, which some people have done. That's fine. All right. So you want to get an onion, some garlic, a little canola oil, some salt and pepper as needed, chicken stock, and heavy cream. The heavy cream is optional. especially as expensive as it is these days. $2 for a little pint. You want to toss the seasonal vegetables in the onion and garlic with oil, salt, and pepper. All right. You want to place on a sheet pan, roasting pan. You want to roast them in the oven until golden brown. Move all the vegetables to a large pot with stock. Simmer until very tender, and then you're just going to puree it. It's basically the cauliflower puree, except you're using a little more stock. All right. Puree with immersion blender or in batches in a big blender. Add cream if you're going to use it for a richer texture. Taste, season, and adjust as needed.
And
Quick and simple.
garnish. Let's see some garnish this week, class. Especially if you're doing the butternut squash.
Oh yeah.
Take those seeds out, toast them, add a little cayenne,
A little salt.
a little salt for some kick.
Drop a couple on top.
Zale, I see your hand up.
Yes, chef. So what you're saying as the seasonal soup, we pick from one of the fruits that we're going to use in the quick bread.
Or you can do a combination.
Okay. Would that be with the same as the seasonal soup?
You want to make sure, we're really thinking about seasonality here, right? So
Right,
like it's
right.
winter. So if you think about what fruits are in season in the winter, not
Right.
a ton, right?
Right.
A lot of citrus is in season.
Yeah.
I personally would suggest going with one soup and just one vegetable and really letting that shine through. That's also part of the thing behind seasonality. It's not masking those flavors. It's saying this is the best it's going to be because it's in season. Let's
Right.
taste what that tastes like. Totally natural and super pure, right? That's
Right.
and then with time you start saying, okay, well, maybe this would be better. I think it would be nice if I did a mix of acorn squash and butternut squash, or I
Right.
want to add sweet potatoes because I have those, but me personally, I would say stick with one and let that shine.
Okay. Is that because it's going to change the taste of the contrast of it?
You mean like mixing different
Right.
mixing? Well, you're just gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna get a different flavor,
Right.
Just-
Right.
that's it. You're gonna get a different flavor, a different color. Again, it's really about highlighting that seasonal thing, right? If we think about, oh, it's tomatoes, right? It's
Yeah.
tomato season. You want it to let the tomato shine. If it's strawberry season, you want those strawberries to shine. You don't want to take it away by mixing it with other stuff. That's just my personal point of view, that you're
Exactly.
so
Okay.
you remember the reasoning behind this week, which is seasonality and the important role that it plays in that. You're thinking,
Right.
okay, this is special because I only get figs, for example, one time of the year,
One time of the year.
and I want to make it shine. That's my
Right.
personal, as a chef, when I think about doing that, I like I love mixing things, of course, and trying different combinations.
Right.
Maybe what you want to do, maybe you want to do a small batch of a sweet potato soup and a small batch of a butternut, taste them independently. Okay, which one's sweeter? Okay, the sweet potato is definitely sweeter, but the butternut squash is smoother. It has a silkier flavor, a silkier texture. Okay, what do I think would be a good balance? Would it be 50-50? Would it be maybe just a little bit of sweet potato in that butternut squash for a little bit of deeper color and a little bit more sweetness, but I don't want it to be super sweet? You see what I'm saying? You really start to
Yeah.
analyze individual pieces of fruits and vegetables.
Okay. Now, as far as the tomatoes go, this is number one question. Do we have to do them? Are they fresh or are they canned?
Well, you're not going to make, if you're making tomatoes, unless you're in, I don't know where you live. I don't know where you live, but tomatoes, unless you're in Arizona, apparently, are not in season right now. So we're using fresh because that wouldn't be, again, highlighting the seasonality.
Right.
Okay, chef. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Fresh is always best. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah,
Some people made their gremolata with dried parsley flakes, where there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a different texture than if you use fresh.
definitely. Norman,
So with the butternut squash, they actually have none, even though I know it's still winter. Went ahead and got the sweet taters because they have like a huge entire section of potatoes. If that was like
Use
I don't
whatever-
understand the question.
the what?
Use what's in season. That's
Okay.
your best bet.
I was just making sure it's okay because I already went ahead and got the sweet potatoes. There was no, wasn't really anything else but the sweet potatoes.
He's saying they at the store, and I know because there's going to be shortage, there's going to be supply shortages. If
Yeah.
you cannot find any of the season, well, if you're in Jersey, okay, there we go, where there's only 3 seasonal things that you can use, but you can't find anything, then just make sure you put that in your narrative.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. But make sure you check in other stores. Like, just don't check one store and then say, oh, yep, they don't have it. Check other stores. Trust me, you'll thank me later. Roger, what you got?
Just so I understand the recipe, we just want to, at the end of making this soup and they get tender, we're to puree them? Because I might have missed something, I don't know.
Yes. Yep.
So just,
You're gonna puree it. You know, in small batches.
okay.
Or if you have the blending stick, which is always
Okay.
best.
I just want,
But yeah, you're gonna roast it. You're gonna roast it to develop pretty much the flavor and the sugars. Then you're gonna put it in your stock and you're just going, basically just cook it. Cook it until it's tender and then just puree it. If you are doing it in a big blender, like they say, in batches, which means about halfway, you do not want to fill that up. Because I've seen too many disasters happen in that realm.
too easy, thank you.
No problem. Anyone else? How do I know what's seasonal for Ohio? Who's in Ohio? Jeanette is in Ohio. All right, so if you go to what Chef Catherine showed earlier, which is the seasonal food guide, I will pull it up and I will place the link in the chat. It's on Chef Catherine's page, and I'm pretty sure it's on my page.
And you remember, if you don't know what's seasonal in your town or, excuse me, your region, use what is stated on the recipe. So for winter, you're making an apple quick bread and a butternut squash soup. That's what we've got. So if you're confused or feeling like I can't find this, or what they're saying is seasonal, I can't find, that's extra information for you all, which is great to know about. But at the bottom line is execute that recipe as what it calls for, utilizing the winter options.
Yes. Any other questions?
I have one, Chef.
Yes, Mikael.
Yeah, you're on the road again. There we go.
Yes, sir. Good day, Chef Catherine and Chef Derek. A quick question. If you were to do the apple quick bread, how do you operate the apples? Do you like dice them up, or how are you incorporating the apples in the mix?
I would do no bigger than medium dice.
Agreed.
You don't want them too small because you want us to be able to see them, but then you don't want them extra chunky.
You want them to cook a little bit and tenderize, and in that cooking process, you make them too
Exactly.
big, it's just not going to have the best finished texture.
Yep.
Right. Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to know. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stay safe out there, man. Crazy people on the road.
Oh, tell me about it. Appreciate it, Chef.
All right, class. So seasonality is what it's all about. Have some fun, look it up. This is another, I just want to show you all this as another thing for seasonal food guide. This one is put on by SNAP, USDA government. Where is that? Let me just, it's a little bit different. It's a bit more general. It's not as specific. You don't, let me get this, seasonal produce. There we go. It doesn't give you the option for putting in your state or location or month, but it gives a very broad, general understanding of seasonality, which might be a little bit easier to grasp when we're starting this, as opposed to looking and thinking, I don't even know what fiddlehead ferns are, you know, or fava beans, you know, what the heck is the seasonal guide showing me? I don't know what this white chicory is. That's okay. Remember, it's great. I think that seasonal food guide is a wonderful resource for opening your eyes to different products and produce as well. But if that felt a bit overwhelming, take a look here, right? This is, you know, USDA government. What's in season now? Apples, like it's recalled for the quick bread, squash for the soup, spinach, cranberries. Okay, so you see this spring, right? This is just a much more condensed list. It's a little bit more accessible, like I said, and you start to see, okay, yeah, spring, strawberries. Okay, that makes sense. Rhubarb, yeah, and you can click on it and you can actually get some more information about, you know, learning about rhubarb, and you've got other information here. So like I said, this is just a bit more condensed, a little bit more streamlined. It's not state specific or within to 2 weeks specific, but it'll give you a good idea. You'll notice that some things are, you know, are available year round, right? Because they're coming in from everywhere, like bananas and avocados. They have different growing seasons. They grow along the equator. They're basically constantly roving in season. The other thing to think about and realize and understand is that different varietals have different growing seasons, so they might overlap. Mango season, for example, is incredible. And I'm going to put this in the chat as well. Depending upon the mango and when it's growing, you know, one varietal pops up and the other one, the next one starts coming in, and the next one and the next one. So it has a longer season. Just like apples, some apples, if you've ever been apple picking, you'll see that there are different times and stages of when the apples are ready for harvesting. So
Yeah.
just something to think about. I think that's about it. Chef, did you have anything else on seasonality?
Nope. Seasonality is always the shortest one.
Indeed.
It's always the shortest one because I mean, the assignments are easy. They're quick, really quick, and really not that difficult. All you have to do is just find out what's in season and make it up. Now, here's the thing. If you want to take, I mean, if you find something that's not in season and you want to make something, you know, later on, like we say, just do the assignment. And then trust me, this is not the last time you're going to make these products. I can guarantee it.
100%.
Guarantee it.
Once you find out how quick, easy, and simple it is, you'll be making stuff like this all the time.
Oh yeah, I made a seasonal soup for a culinary competition. Ridiculous, and the judges looked at me like, seriously, that's what you're putting a roasted soup for your 3-course, until they tasted it. Because I did mine with a veal stock. I did several different vegetables, roasted them all together, blended it, and then of course, you know, they didn't know about my corn egg custard with goat cheese and mushrooms. So yeah, when they were like, oh shoot, okay, he just put a basic roasted vegetable soup. We thought it was going to be something, you know. Then of course my lamb kind of kicked it too, but they told me I was the first person to ever win with a soup, roasted vegetable soup. So these are things that you can use at any time. You don't have to just wait till it's cold to get a roasted or to make a roasted soup. You can make it anytime you want to.
Everybody loves soup all year round, and everybody
That's
loves
right.
quick bread. So
It's that
it's,
simple.
they're no brainers. So class, catch up on anything that you've missed. Time is ticking. Use this week to get ahead, refresh. There are still some people I know in my class, as well as in Chef Aries' class, who have not completed knowledge checks. Knock those out,
And
please.
remember, you get three chances. So if you're feeling nervous, I know a lot of people don't like taking tests. They don't like taking quizzes. Knock that first one out, see what you get. Look at your answers, say, okay, I know I need to study on this. I need to study on this. I need to study on this. Then the second one is when you study right before it, get that second one out the way. But if you don't do the first one, you're pretty much shooting yourself in the foot, because you never know. I mean, you might know these answers, even though you think you're not good at taking tests. This is what you love. So something has stuck up here. Trust me. Just when you think, oh, well, I didn't really learn nothing with that, then all of a sudden, oh, shoot, I remember Chef Catherine said, bloop, 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 and there's two answers. So at least take the first one. Okay? You want a grade in it. You'd rather have a grade. I'd rather have a 3 than a 0.
Definitely.
Just me.
Definitely. Awesome. All righty, class. Thank you all. Thank you, Chef. We'll catch you on Friday.
Yeah,
Bring your
study
questions about
hall.
seasonality, okay?
Thank you,
Actually, one
guys.
quick question. Where do you find that seasonal thing is?
We just put it in the chat.
Okay, very good.
Put one in the chat and the other one
Is on the class pages.
on the class pages.
Later, Mikael. Later, Roger.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Everybody